Absolutely Not is normalizing the standard, period. If you bring the whole table, then you can sit with us. We're bringing all the uncomfy combos and creating an unapologetic space to drive the culture forward respectfully. Because it seems like everyone wants to keep their opinions in the comment section. Absolutely not. What is up, world? It's your girl, Allura, and we are back with your favorite podcast, Absolutely Not, hosted by yours truly, a girl with unpopular opinions. Be sure to tune in every week for new episodes featuring some of the hottest topics. Today on the show, we have two guests, not just one. I'm really excited to introduce these guests. I hold both of them near and dear to my heart, both very influential women. Today we have Tiffany Mahon, who is the CEO of Modest Muse, and we have Natalie Harris, who is a luxury realtor here in Dallas. Thank you guys both for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, super excited for what we talk about today. So.
Me too. Even though I don't really have we have so many things, so many avenues in which we can walk, so we're just going to let God direct the path.
Amen.
But I do just want to start by asking, I know that you're the CEO of Modest Muse, Inc.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, how did that come about? I love the name specifically, and I just want to ask you this. Is the name built Modest Muse based off of modest dressing? Because I know that's something that's trending now.
Yeah. I think modesty is a lifestyle. We were kind of speaking earlier about how sexy is a confidence.
Yes.
To be a modest woman is to be able to hold yourself like a Proverbs 31 woman. Mm-hmm. And when I was in my journey of self-discovery, I created a nonprofit organization that met me where I was in my life. Mm-hmm. I came from being in the world. I came from entertainment industry, from doing Wild 'N Out, from just kind of being swayed that the only way I was accepted is if I was going to be half naked or, dressed in a different way. And then with time and discovering God and really getting deeper in my relationship, I realized, you know what? I'm actually more beautiful, more covered up. People will respect my word and my value more, with a modest approach.
Absolutely.
So with just sitting down and developing what is it that I would like myself to embody in order to teach other women what to be, I wanted to be a modest muse, a modest inspiration to inspire and influence women that it is okay to be exactly who you were uniquely called to be and be beautiful doing it.
I love that. And I like the fact that you said influence, but I do also want to point out that I think you're doing more than influencing with the term modest muse, like you said, being a modest inspiration. I feel like that has more impact than anything. And in today's world and in today's society, sometimes you have to choose whether you want to have impact or influence. Anyone can be an influencer, but very few have impact.
That's big. That's super big. And, I wanted to be a woman that led with impact. Like you said, we could all have followers. We could all have people who want to be like us. But I wanted someone to see me and be encouraged to be them.
Absolutely.
Because you can chase, when I always say your calling was not a conference call.
Hello.
So until you actually go deep into finding what your purpose is, which mine was helping women through the stories that I went through in order to bridge the gap between personal and business development resources so that women could, not have a limit, but soar as high as they want to soar. Mm-hmm. That's where developing a brand from who I wanted to be, but who other women cannot be like, but follow as a blueprint to,
yes,
it's a blueprint.
And that's inspirational within itself, simply because we have influential people that we look up to every day, but I don't think any of them really embody the modest woman. Mm-hmm. I feel like if young girls were able to see a sexy, modest woman at a young age, you wouldn't see girls,
more Meg Thee Stallions and Cardi B.
Yes. No shade to them, because
I love them as women.
I'm a feminist. Yeah. But definitely what you said, I feel like more people would be persuaded to follow the modest approach. Yeah. I think that being modest says so much about not only a woman's character, mm-hmm. but also the way that she exudes confidence, mm-hmm. just by showing her face, not showing skin. I think that's beautiful. And in the world that we live in, especially me being a Black woman who works in a male-dominated industry, both in entertainment and in tech, I find myself being more respected as a minority, but not necessarily as a woman. Mm-hmm. And I've come from both sides of the spectrum. I have been a hot girl. Mm-hmm. enjoyed my time for sure, but at the end of the day, hot girls grow up. And I found that I feel more comfortable and more confident when I have more clothing on. And like also along the way, I kind of got into style, and I find that like piecing outfits together and finding cute ways of pairing odd things really speaks to me more than just throwing on a bunch of stuff from Fashion Nova and stepping out. I feel like style also kind of paints the story of who you are and who you're going to be, which also leads me to my next point. You said that you started Modest Muse with the idea of who you wanted to be.
Yes.
Which is also very important because I feel like we as young women, we're taught to, be delusional, manifest the life that you want. There's power in the tongue. But people never tell you that in order for you to become the person that you want to be, you have to become the person you want to be. Like, it's not just something that will happen later. You have to be actively taking those steps today in order to move along that path. Like, if you see yourself as someone who's a classy woman, who's always put together, who lives a life of freedom, you should be doing all those things now. Every time you leave the house, you need to make sure that, I'm not going to say you have to be dressed from top to bottom, but at least make sure that you're well put together, that you carry yourself with class and have a demeanor that exudes confidence. And also, if you want to live that life of leisure, like make sure that you're making time to travel. Obviously, you're not going to be able to travel at the level of your higher self, but at least getting into the practice of it so that it's not new to you when it happens. People often forget that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you don't have to become because you already are. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just said a lot in just a bulk there. I think when it comes to, we were saying the purpose, starting with there, it's sacrificial. To become who you're called to be, you're going to have to sacrifice that old you. You got to let her go.
Yeah.
That little girl who aspires for all these things and, thinks what could potentially fulfill you. Which, what do I think of when we think of little girls? We're thinking fame. We're thinking money.
Yeah.
We're thinking
beauty. We all aspire to be like our best friend's big sister.
Yes, literally. That's what we aspire at such a young age. But then there's a level of growing up and maturity that has to come, which is sacrificial, which okay, I'm now transitioning into being a grown woman. And what does it look to be a grown woman? Now I'm focused on building legacy.
Yeah.
And what does it look like to build my legacy? Because I cannot sustain this is not my life for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
What is my purpose bigger than me? Because this world is not about ourselves.
Yes.
And if you're living a life about yourselves, I just, would recommend anybody sitting back and self-reflecting and seeing, how is that going to serve you in the long run? Exactly.
Each day we need to make the conscious decision to ask ourselves, how can I be more than just self-serving? That's in doing community service. Even when we post content, how can you add value to the people around you and to your community?
And service is big, I always say when I've spoken in multiple events, I've done so many things in life. We have so many different transitions when it comes to business, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to being a boss, whatever it is. My number one title is I'm a servant and a steward before I'm anything else.
Hello.
I am here to serve the Lord and what he's called me to do, to serve the women, especially of this world, because I understand that if I'm able to cater to the women, I'm able to cater to the men. And then from the women and the men, I can help the children.
Absolutely.
And then from there, we could build something. But until we fix ourselves, we'll be waiting for everybody else to fix ourselves, not knowing that the women is the example. We lead by the excellence that we create because everything else around us will, fall into line with whatever it is that we're called to do.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think right now we're kind of living in an imbalanced world. A lot of women are having to take on the role of masculine energy just because we don't see a lot of that masculine energy being exuded in the way that it should in today's world. So we now have to kind of cosplay as both feminine and masculine energies to bring back that balance.
Yeah. And I think also women just understanding that there's so much power in being a woman. There's so much power in being gentle. There's so much power in actually sitting back, exuding that fruit of the spirit, the peace, the joy, and just operating in our role. We're in a place of survivorship where we want to be our own bosses. We want to do all these things, and we're completely moving men out of our lives when we were created to be there to be each other's support. You know, so if I would tell any woman, it's like, girl, you don't have to fake the funk. I know you want love too.
Yeah.
You know, but love starts with self, and love starts with not everything around you is going to be perfect. And then I go to the point of literally imperfection is what can make anything beautiful. You know, it takes crushing in order to make fine wine. It takes pressure to make a diamond.
Absolutely.
You know? So,
and that's like, nobody really puts emphasis on the beauty that comes from pain. I mean, like, we live in today's society is based off of social media. So we see people going from one thing to the next, and we see them going from not great to being the greatest, but nobody really sees the process that it took. Sometimes you just got to hit rock bottom in order to force yourself into an awakening that'll help you realize that your greatest strength comes from your weakness.
Yeah, and I feel like, I was going to say, like, I feel like it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to display that pain. It's okay to, like, put out there that you're going through something, because I feel like you get on social media and, like, you see, like, all of these lifestyles, and, you know, you want to be it, you know, you try to fake the front. But what I've realized is, like, it's not all glamorous. Like, it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's okay to take your time on everything. And I've learned that everybody's journey is different.
Yes.
You know, you shouldn't have to rush, like, anything. Like, everybody's journey to get where they want to be is different. So sometimes it's okay to delete social media for some time. You know, it's okay to, like, yeah.
and you said social media. Oh my gosh, that's the place of instant gratification.
Yes.
There is nothing real about social media. And if I could tell anybody that, like, I would enforce it, push it. Because number one, when you go on social media, the first thing you're doing is comparing yourself to somebody else.
Yeah,
and
whether
compare
you realize it or
is
not.
sin. You know,
No, yeah.
if you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you're sinning.
coveting thy neighbor. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so being able to understand that when you go on someone's page and you're looking at all their best moments, you know, I realized the other day, I actually personally broke down crying in classroom, right? And then after, I was posting like, oh, just left commercial real estate school and just left this school. And I'm like, if only people knew what the trial and tribulation looked like. But because the world does not accept trial and tribulation, the world is so scared to be honest about and be vulnerable. But understand that vulnerability is love too.
Yes.
So, you know, to be able to be honest about who you are, and especially as a believer, I'll speak for my believers as well. Unfortunately, because of the world and the sin that we live in, we can't be honest.
Yeah.
You know, we can't be honest with our struggles. We can't be honest that, you know, our stuff stinks too.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're all imperfect human beings. And even at the top, I mean, I'm sure Jay-Z and Beyonce, and I don't know them, but everybody has their own problems.
Yeah.
And new levels, new devils. So if you're comparing yourself to somebody else's life, you have no idea what that person is battling. Because I will also say for myself, I was engaged to an NFL athlete, engaged in Bora Bora. Everything looked beautiful, you know, from the outside looking in, but nobody knew what I was going through at home.
Yeah.
But I would never put that out there for anyone to see, because again, it's marketing.
Yeah.
You know, social media is a marketing tool. And when you understand it as a business move, you understand that, yes, there's limitations and boundaries that do have to be set. But once you get people in, you have to create that safe space for people to also be able to glorify God's name through what you went through, because there's someone who needs you too.
Absolutely.
So.
And like you said, social media is instant gratification, but it's also like, the mind is a soft space. Like, it's easily malleable. You can pretty much shape it to desire certain things. So sometimes I have to step back and ask myself, like, what is it that I really want? Like, I mean, yeah, I'm striving for the next bag. I want to live in a high rise. I want to have this car. And those are all nice things. But what from those things is it that I really want? What are those things a symbol of? And what I realize is that those things are a symbol of freedom, financial stability, financial freedom. And so that's what I think that we're all collectively chasing as a community, but don't really realize it. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, I mean, I hear everybody talking about how they want a Birkin. do we really want a Birkin, or do we just want it because the city girl said it?
I would never want a Birkin. One thing about
ugly.
me being from Guyana, I'm the least materialistic person. You know, I understand, and I will put money into a business and an investment before I ever buy a bag for myself. I will make sure that I have a house before I have a fancy car. I will make sure that everything is in order, because I think our priorities, and me not being a Black American, I understand that priorities are completely different.
Yeah.
You know, it's about legacy. It's about family building. I need to make sure that I'm building generational wealth and not something that's going to come today and be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So a car, a bag, I mean, even everything that you want to make it look cute, it does not fulfill you.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had all of those things, lost all of those things, and realized how interchangeable it was. So it's like, why put your value in any of those things? Your value is in the people that you can help.
Yeah.
The people who are here forever, that can be like, hey, that girl said something to me that changed my life. That girl showed her heart in a way that, like, I've never been touched. She loved me in a way, and she showed me grace in a way that nobody else in my life has done. And I feel the most value comes from your relationships. Right now, your relationships is your profit.
Yeah.
How many relationships can you maintain and keep sane, and also be able to feed into, and then also let them feed back into you?
Yeah.
That's your money, because your people is your capital.
Yeah.
But people think your bags and your pictures and your material and things like that, you'll be broke forever. I'm sorry. That is a broke mentality. You know, and as a minority woman, speaking specifically from that, we know that that's the number one setup to put us right back into poverty.
Yep.
So why are we chasing it? If we know that it has no long-term, like, result, why do we continue running the same circle when at the end of the day, it's not only freedom that we're chasing, it's our time.
Yeah.
Our time is the most valuable thing in the world, because the other day I was speaking to someone who's in their late 70s. They've achieved so many different things, you know, and at the end of the day, he said, I pray, play, and pay. He said, pray, play, and pay, because there's a moment where you'll never get to play again, and the last thing you want to do is die and know that you did not live your life.
Yeah.
Because you were so worried about how much you're going to get paid, and you're so worried about the next check. Let me tell you how many times I chased the next check. The next check came, and then I had to go chase another one.
Yeah. And it happens just like that. As quick as money comes, it goes. And unfortunately, living in the world that we do, money is such a huge part of life. I mean, especially now as we're going into the recession. I was just telling you earlier, like, I mean, I have a good job, but I mean, the life that I live, it's giving, like, I need a better job. It's getting more and more expensive by the day. You have rent, you have bills, and then you have maintenance. And next thing you know, like, okay, well, like you said, waiting on the next check.
Yeah.
People don't realize that just like in order for us to get money, we have to take the risk that are necessary in order to achieve that level of freedom or status that we're wanting. And one of the things that I'll say is that time is definitely an investment, and you have to choose where you're going to be spending that time. I mean, a lot of us have spent time in relationships that we weren't supposed to, and you don't get an ROI for that. You spent time in friendships that weren't serving you, and you don't get an ROI for that. It's best to be investing your time in community and people and things that you can watch, appreciate over time. I mean, not necessarily.
They're going to come pay you.
Exactly. Maybe not in material value, but definitely in some sort of emotional or moral aspect.
Girl, it can come back in the material value too, because if you were to pour into someone's life and you're praying over someone and that person makes it, they will never forget the fact that you were the one that prayed through them.
That's so true.
And I'm speaking from literal personal experiences of rocking with girls for the last 4 years through Bible studies every single week, and watching them go from not being a BSN to being a registered nurse, from going from being completely sick to being completely healed, you know? And that's monetary value for me, because now that person can go out and do the purpose that was called to them, and I can be their back, you know? I could be the support that they need. But we're in this generation that everybody just wants to look good.
Yeah.
How about feel good?
Yes.
You know? How about truly feel good? When you can walk in a room and not feel judged, not feel like you have to perform, not feel like we have to be anything that we're not.
Yeah.
But we can just be comfortable, humble, and just safe in knowing that I'm loved just exactly how I am.
Exactly. We've lost our authenticity. Everything has become performative because of social media. People feel like everything is content, and while it is maybe not in the way that we try and make it out to be. A lot of people are posting content, and I'm guilty of it myself.
Me too.
To make people see certain aspects of our lives. Like, we have these reels that are short clips of the happiest moments of our lives, but like you said, we're not showing those short clips of you crying in your classroom or not having money in your bank account.
But you said short clips, because those are normally the longest clips if you really think about it. Y'all get the sneak peek and the snippet of the good part.
That is so true.
We spend more time in hiding and more time in building than we really do in being able to be in the forefront. And I don't think we really understand that. That's why the 5 seconds that you get of me are the best 5 seconds that you probably had in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to building something, and if any woman is building something large, I know their plate is not light.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if they have a solid foundation and they got their God walking with them, they're able to move freely and to move with a pace that is light, a weight that does look light, you know? And I think that's actually the most valuable, most sophisticated, most sexy thing about a woman, is a woman who has a lot, who has embarked in a lot, so much trial and tribulation, but she still holds her head up high. She still has a genuine good heart, and none of the trauma and trial that she went through could ever make her treat somebody else like what she went through.
Yes.
That's a powerful woman. For me, it's a woman who literally exudes herself as a Proverbs 31 woman with peace, joy, and light. You know, she doesn't come in here every day like, I'm tired, I'm sick of this, I'm over this. But she literally stands firm in the confidence of, I'm good because my God's good, my Father's got me, and I know the calling and the purpose for my life. And as long as I just stick to it, I'm going to be taken care of no matter what.
And that way of thinking didn't really settle in for me until a little bit later in my life, because I was always the person that panicked and always like went into oh shit mode anytime things kind of felt a little bit rocky. And like, I mean, I will also say that I'm also very resilient. I was able to see myself through those times, but I always had some sort of fear or some sort of doubt. And now that I'm a little bit older, like whenever things feel like they're wavering or things feel unsteady or I feel unstable, I'm confident in the fact that at the end of the day, like as much as we stress and as much worry that we put into things, it all ends up working out. Yeah. So like, what's the point?
I feel like you have to have that mindset of like what's meant to be will be. Because I kind of like me, I'm thinking like, you know, I try to control everything, you know, like trying to like control my future, trying to plan it out and everything. But at the end of the day, like you can't control your future. You can't plan it out. You can't control your relationships. Like you got to take everything day by day.
Exactly.
You know, you can't think, okay, this is going to happen in 5 years. This is going to happen in 10 years. Because like in the day, like it's God's plan at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you just kind of have to live every day like, okay, like this happened, but let me move on from it. And
one thing that I will say to piggyback off of that, everything that you said is so true. Like you said, in 5 years, I'm going to be doing this. I am literally a living testimony. I had a 5-year plan. I had a 10-year plan. In 5 years, I was supposed to be on tour with Megan Thee Stallion. And here I am sitting on a couch with you two. Yeah. Not that that's a bad thing. You guys are very inspirational. But I never saw myself having a podcast. I always saw myself as an artist or someone that was going to be in front of a crowd. And while I am in front of a crowd, I'm doing it in a different way. And God is using my words in a different way to touch others, which, like I said, a 5-year plan is great. But at the end of the day, everything is going to manifest in the way that God sees it fit.
More like you can't really like, because you kind of taught me this in terms of like your goals, like mapping out like what you want. Like you don't really want to be like, oh, this is going to happen in this. Just kind of have like a broad vision of like what you want for yourself. Like you don't have to like map out, like it's good to map out every detail, but just have like a broad vision of like what you want and then live every single day to help you get to that vision. Like wake up in the morning and think like, okay, like this, like waking up at 6 a.m. and doing this is going to help me get to that vision.
Exactly. And I spent the last few years of my life like chasing being an artist, and I still am doing that. But you said something that was interesting about the guy who's in his 70s who said that he wakes up every day, he prays, he plays.
And then pay.
There we go. It's important that with whatever you're doing, whatever passion that it is you have, or whatever it is that you're doing, you make sure that you have passion behind that, because I know that sometimes like we wake up and we do things over and over again and it becomes monotonous, but like there's no soul or any intention behind it, which is why for everything that I do in life, especially in my own personal projects, I made sure that I understand the intention behind it so that I'm not doing soulless work throughout my life and I wake up and I'm 70 and I've spent all this time being busy, but I have nothing to show for it. I haven't touched any lives. I haven't built my own community. And I feel like that's really important, especially like as you look into the future. What are all these actions going to bring me later?
Yeah. And that's why when it comes to vision planning, you know, first I'll say this, because when you guys were speaking, Romans 8:28 came to mind, that all things work together for the good, no matter what, you know. So we can vision plan, we can think of all the great things, but how's your prayer life, you know? Are you asking for these things every day? Are you being intentional about what it is that you're seeking, and then also being specific about what it is that you're seeking? Because this is the thing, I'll speak for relationships in general. We have so many women out here trying to find a man and trying to fix, like heal something inside of them through going out and looking for a relationship. But then they don't understand that it's not she who finds the husband, it's he who finds a wife. So the more that you're able to literally look within self and fix yourself, you understand that you're creating a world around you of people who will come in and respect and love you for exactly who you are.
And you know, in the Bible, he never ever speaks of a woman finding a man. He always speaks of a man finding a woman. And here we are, like living our best hot girl life, going out and seeking men. But sometimes you can't be found because you haven't been hidden.
Exactly. And what does it look like to hide?
Exactly.
What does it truly look like to put yourself in a place where you sacrifice again? Because understanding that love is sacrificial, you understand that you have to give up a part of yourself no matter what in order for love to work. And that also means with God. You know, that means that I'm willing to not be out there hooked up with certain people or linked up with people that may be spoiling me, but he's not even praying for me.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, this man ain't for you because he's not even equally yoked with you.
Hello.
And you're trying to force an entire situation for this man to love you. He does not even know what love looks like because he never did it for himself.
He doesn't know God. And to know God means to know love.
And it could seem so much simpler than it is, but unfortunately we live in a world that you're completely taught so many other things. And I mean, just the perversion of the world, you know. That's why as women, as leaders, you know, we play a big role in the influence that we have, not only to other women, but to the men as well. So if we can just be more modest, you know, and again, it's not perfection, because there's plenty of times, like, it's a way to be sexy. And that's why we were speaking earlier, what is sexy, you know?
Yeah.
It's not about just putting on lingerie and like being half out. It's about a confidence that you exude. But that confidence also is tied with humility.
Yes.
Because I'm also not saying to be arrogant. I'm also telling yourself that you should know your power, because one day I remember somebody out, they were going in on me and I just went, "Do you know who I am?" And I was like, "No, do you really know who I am?"
And like inside,
Yeah, and not even that. I'm God's child.
Hello.
Like,
watch who you talking to.
Watch who you are talking to, because, and when I'm God's child, I know the authority that I have and the power that I have as just being a vessel, and there's nothing else that I need to do.
Exactly.
I don't need to argue, because at the end of the day, who are we looking like arguing with fool? You know, like,
Hello.
You know you.
He who argues with man is a fool.
Exactly. Our vessel is enough. How we carry ourselves and how we present ourselves as women, which is just with genuine good hearts, you know, that's enough for the world to be able to change. And I think that's what people don't understand. We're so scared of each other. We hurt each other so much. And even, you know, Black women, we hurt each other and beat each other up so much when there's so much opportunity for love. But because of the trauma and the trial that we endured and went through, it's a barrier from us just being able to love each other.
Yeah.
But if you understand the enemy's schemes, you understand that the enemy put those schemes in order for us to stay separated. Because as soon as we come together, we have all the power that we need to break all the curses and to be able to do whatever it is that we need to do that our aunts, our mothers, and things could not do. So how can we use our voice? How can we use our power? How can we use the authority of collaboration and humbleness, and knowing that we were all uniquely designed for a different purpose, And it's all beautiful. We could all be boutique owners. I mean, both of us are realtors.
Yeah.
And still be on top, because there's just so much out there.
Yeah.
The
There's
enough
space for
room
everyone.
everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, even if it's not room, I'm gonna bring my own chair.
We're gonna make the room.
Hello.
Yeah.
We will make it.
I was watching a documentary the other day, and one of the ladies was talking about the women's suffrage march and how a particular organization was required. They could march, but because they were Black women, they were required to march in the back, like Rosa Parks, which, I mean, really upset them. But what was interesting is she was just like, oh, I was just telling you, I wasn't asking. At the end of the day, even if it's not a seat in the table for me, I didn't ask to be invited. I'm going to show up anyway, and I'm going to bring my own chair.
Yeah. And that's that confidence.
Exactly.
It goes back to confidence.
Exactly.
If you can't move the room, create the room.
Hello. And at the end of the day, if you aren't walking in a room and evoking change, you need to reverse and come back in.
And let me say this, if you're walking a room and you feel nothing but hate and envy around you, you already are the change.
Yeah.
So how can you change the heart of that room by being completely opposite of what you feel?
Exactly.
So if someone is giving you negative, you be the positive.
Hello.
Preach.
If somebody wants to be the darkness, you be the light in the darkness.
Hello.
Because at the end of the day, we live in a world that is on fire, and how can I be the peace in the world of chaos?
Yes.
It's all about how you hold yourself. One individual can change the trajectory. It's just we're waiting on other people to change it for us when it's right within.
That's so true.
Beauty is within. It's not about your physical appearance. It's not about even how it's within. It's your heart posture.
Yeah.
And when your heart is postured correctly, you can understand the assignment and the calling for your life. And then that's where you can walk in obedience every single day, have the discipline to know that, hey, I'm building something bigger than me that has nothing to do with me, but it's going to change the trajectory for my future family's family. And my family will never have to struggle again. And I mean, not even struggling financially. I'm talking emotionally, spiritually, I'm talking every single way that my family needs a generational curse broken. If my aunties can't get along, I'm going to be the difference of my aunties getting together and getting along. But I will not be the one who feeds into it.
No.
So that's what it looks like to be a stand-apart woman, to be a modest muse, to be someone who's willing to be set apart and also make a difference in a world that everybody wants to look the same.
Exactly.
Because we all want to look the same. Who can be the best Kardashian yet? Like, who can look better than Kim? That's what everybody is on right now, when it's really like...
At the end of the day, it's within.
Yeah.
Yes. And girl, they just all changed their bodies too. Like, how y'all gonna go back from the BBLs?
Like, literally, at the end of the day, the only thing you need to be striving for is to be better than the person you were yesterday. And I know that that's a cliche, but if you're in competition with everyone else and we have all these quick fixes like surgery and Botox and filler and all of these cosmetic approaches to tidying ourselves or changing who we are, who are you really in competition with?
Yeah.
It's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Your biggest competition is yourself. And literally that's an idea of, if you are confident, you would not compare yourself to other women, because you understand that, again, you have a specific calling for your life, and God will surround you with whatever it is that you need to fulfill that.
Absolutely.
And you are just as powerful. I'm sorry, even when it comes to celebrities, I don't idolize a person. There's not one person I look up to when it comes to the worldly aspect of things, because I've met a lot of celebrities. And when I met them, I realized the heart posture had nothing to do with their creative talents. I respect you as an artist.
Yeah.
But your heart is not set up for a place for me to respect you and honor you in that way. So why are we doing it?
Exactly.
Sometimes the people that we need to honor and respect are right in front of us. It could be our mothers. It could be our fathers. It's the people who have been rooting for us all our lives. But we go to Beyonce and think that Beyonce got us something for us when we paying Beyonce bills.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
and I love them, but at the same time, why do we keep idolizing people we don't know?
And we know nothing about.
Nothing.
I mean, all we see, like you said, are bits and pieces
music.
of their
We just
lives.
like their music.
Yeah.
It's cute. We have a filter for that.
Yeah.
But
That is so true.
We have a filter. If you want to be cute, we could put filters all over your life. But it's really about finding things, again, no idolizing. Like, people can come to me about football and basketball and celebrities and things like that and speak so highly of them. And I'm like, you found an identity through those people, but who are you?
Yeah.
because that's what's going to set you apart. And then that's also understanding that you're just as valuable as them. One thing about me is every room that I ever operated in, and I've operated in some big rooms, I've never felt like the less person.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with money in the bank account, because you have no idea what money is in their bank account at the end of the day. You know, your clothes and your makeup and stuff will stay the same even if you go to zero tomorrow.
That is very true.
You know, you will continue to hold yourself up to a certain standard because that's the standard that you've always lived on. But who are we to sit and say that this person is more fruitful because they have a little bit more money?
Yeah.
Fruitful is peace, joy, love. Unless you're really exuding that, and I could feel that in your presence, and I'm sorry, the workaholic mentality too, that ain't fruitful.
No.
We were
not
called. No. If we were called to have a Sabbath day, and we were called to operate in a certain way, the way that I see fruit is the woman who's able to sit back and be like, oh, I'm happy with what I did today. I've done enough. And it's not about chasing a goal. It's about, again, chasing the Spirit and allowing the Spirit to lead us. Because when you're a vessel, it's so much bigger than your achievements. Because it's not about our achievements. It's about the achievements that God wants us to achieve.
That is so true. I guess I better stop being so hard on myself at the end of the day.
Yes, girl, we beat ourselves up for no reason.
Yes, I'm like, I was supposed to complete all of these tasks. I was supposed to do all these things. I didn't post any content. Every day, it's like a checklist of all the things I didn't do.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We all do it to ourselves, and that's why it's important to take it one day at a time, one thought at a time, literally one moment at a time. And then I say this, majority of people, you know, when they think of believers or they think of religion and things, you see a checklist Christian, right? What do you think about a checklist Christian? At the end of the day, someone who just goes by the book, right? Is that the life that you want to exude to show other people that, you know, that's how you live? Or do you walk by faith and not by sight and trust that every single day is going to look completely different, but is bringing you closer to the destiny that you have for your life, and you're manifesting true purpose, but it's also knowing that you didn't write the script.
Exactly.
But the blueprint is there.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
you know, be the author, let God be the author of your story. And it will change the trajectory, because we keep trying to write our chapters and we have to go back to chapter 1.
Keep starting over.
Go back to chapter 2. Oh, now we're in chapter 10. We made it further. Oh my gosh. Now we back to page 1. Oh, hold up. Let's do the whole cover over again, because now I'm a new person.
Exactly.
You know? How many times are we going to transition?
Girl, over and over again. It's never ending. I feel like I go through an ego death every few days.
We all do. Literally, I speak for myself, and that's when I speak from a place of imperfection. You know, I speak from a place of being willing to be vulnerable and honest with women, to be like, hey, my story is not cute, it's not pretty, but one thing I will tell you is I get up and I keep going every single day, and God has gotten me very far because of that. But also, my heart is set on the right things. Yeah. You know, it's about my purpose. I always say, you chase profit, you're a hamster in a hamster wheel. You're going to keep running and running and running and running and chasing money. But if you chase purpose, profit will chase you.
I love that.
And really understanding chasing purpose and what that looks like.
I love that. And I completely and wholeheartedly agree with that last statement. Because a lot of people say, like, oh, I mean, you have a podcast and you're doing music, but like you don't have any like e-commerce, or you don't have anything that's like truly making you money. But at the end of the day, like, my passion is what is funding me.
You have a voice. That's the most powerful thing that anybody could have, because some people are mute. And people who are mute can't touch anybody. That's so true. So at the end of the day, you're a walking multimillionaire. And, you know, what does that truly look like to be a walking multimillionaire? You know? Because that's exactly what I see when I mean, even when we met, you know? At the end of the day, it's not about, shoot, in comparison, and of course, all respect to Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B, but you doing way better than them. Real talk.
Thank you.
Just because they got the Birkins don't mean they doing any better than anybody else around them. Shoot, you don't even know what they had to sacrifice to get the Birkin.
Girl, and that is another conversation. I'm going to briefly... And then I'm gonna wrap it up, I promise. I was actually talking with one of my producers from when I was heavily working on music. We were talking about collaborating on another project. And he was asking me like, oh, you haven't put out anything in like the last year or two. Like, what's up? And I'm like, well, you know, I've been busy with my podcast and I've been busy with content creation, because being an influencer is not something that like I was trying to do, it kind of just happened and things kind of took off. And he was just like, yeah, I understand that, but I just don't want you to get discouraged, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to lie, like, I'm not going to say that I'm necessarily discouraged, but it is kind of hard for me to continue doing it if like nothing's really happening from it. You know, if people aren't responding, but at the end of the day, that's not what matters. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me like, you're comparing yourself to the people that I started music with that were here in Dallas, who've gone on and done bigger and better things like on reality TV shows and like tours and things like that. But he was like, you don't even understand what they had to do to get there. He was like, you're a clean girl. You're doing things the right way, and it's going to take you a lot more time. But at the end of the day, fast money, just as quickly as it's earned, is spent. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And that's why, again, divine timing, divine appointments, and also understanding that it takes one person to see everything that you're doing that could change the entire trajectory of your life. Mm-hmm. It's just how much are we willing to continue to push through, even when nobody else is watching. Mm-hmm. Because when we think no one is watching, it takes one person to get a hold of it and to see the value that will come in and invest. Because at the end of the day, it is a spiritual warfare that we're in.
Yeah.
It's good versus bad. Mm-hmm. But there's enough good in the world to be able to help propel voices as yourself and all, you know, even in what we're doing, that will take us to the next level, because it does look like we are the lone sheep, the black sheep in the race, you know? Why am I not there and there? I could have been doing, trust me, I came from that lifestyle, you know? Like literally came from the lifestyle of being on Wild 'N Out, working with Nick Cannon, working in all of those spaces. Mm-hmm. And if I could tell anyone, we're way ahead of the game. Thank God we have a foundation. Mm-hmm. Thank God we have a purpose. Thank God we have a direction. Because nobody knows the drugs and the alcohol and all the things that people are having to be on in order to just wake up and go again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So before we compare ourselves to someone else's situation, you don't know who's being abused at home. Yeah. You don't know who can't take care of their family. You don't know. Mm-hmm. So if I would tell anybody anything, it's before you even scroll on social media, make sure you're looking at your word first and looking up and take a look in the mirror before you look anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Because all we can do is fix ourselves, and we cannot define anybody else's story based off of the pictures that they give us. Mm-hmm. Because we're only going to give the best clips.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And then I know you're about to wrap it up, but just on top of that, saying, like you said, you shouldn't chase profit. I feel like you should chase peace. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I've chasing peace means like completely just being okay, like completely being content with like nothing else should bother you. You know, nothing else should mess you up mentally. You should be so confident in yourself that like whatever happens, you should just be completely like, okay, like how am I going to move on? You know what I mean? So like getting to that point mentally of like being content and being like at peace within yourself and being completely confident, like I feel like that's what like is something
that's
to
the bag, girl.
That drives
that's
the engine.
Real bag.
At the end of the day, like mentally,
that's the real bag. And I think more people need to get into their actual mental and spiritual bag and get out of the physical bag.
Yeah. It's gonna take a little while before we get there, but I definitely see a lot of people realizing that, as we see the rise of people buying replica bags versus buying actual true designer bags. And I mean, like, people have their it comes with its pros and cons, but at the end of the day, I see us phasing out of those materialistic mindsets and moving into something more meaningful. And that's my hope for the next generation as well.
Agreed. And I'm like, shoot, when do we want to take the chains off? We've been in chains since slavery.
Preach. I was literally just telling somebody that the other day. Okay, last thing, I swear. I was telling my producer that the other day because in the music industry, like, it's a thing. Like, when you get your chain, that's how everybody knows you made it. So I got mine a few years ago. It was cute or whatever. Yeah. I don't wear it anymore because I literally asked myself the same thing. I'm like, I have a chain. What is this a symbol of? Yeah. To me, it's giving slavery. Yeah. And those chains were broken a long time ago. When are we going to let that go?
Yeah. When are we going to take that money and put it in land?
Something else.
When are we going to take that and actually build like legacy and generational wealth for our family? It's cute to be at the club popping bottles, but the bottles are going to like, how much do you want to be a slave to society?
Exactly.
Is my question.
Exactly. And people preach capitalism and things like that, but at the end of the day,
We do
are
it to
slaves of
ourselves.
it. Yes.
We're slaves to ourselves and slaves to the world.
Exactly.
So how can you not, unleash the shackles?
Yeah.
For sure.
I love that. This has been such a great show. I appreciate both of you guys for spending time with me today. I hope that you guys enjoyed it just as much as me.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yes,
This is fun.
this is great. So grateful to be here. So.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Absolutely Not the Podcast. Be sure to tune in every week for new episodes. And can you guys please tell the world where to find you?
Oh yeah, I can go first. Okay, you can find me on Instagram, NatHarris1.
And you can find me on Instagram at Tiffany Sharonda, or you can follow me on my website at www.modestmuseorg.com to follow up on any charitable initiatives and ways to serve. So,
Thank you both.
thank you.